2025. Okay, this is where I would normally mention some weird stuff that happened during the year, but everything has gotten so depressing that I don't want to remind anyone of what's going on outside. RAM is more expensive than GPUs now. What are we doing? This stupid AI bubble needs to pop faster. Anyway, you probably know the drill with these kinds of videos. Let's just get into it. Here's the games I played in 2025. I figured I'd start the year off with a game that I really should have played sooner. I kept hearing about how good Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown is, so figured I'd check that out. It's fine, I guess. The game really does feel like if Ubisoft made a Metroidvania. In a vacuum, The Lost Crown is great. It's just that in a genre filled with good games that do a lot more unique things, The Lost Crown just doesn't stand out. If you already played Hollow Knight and Metroid Dread, you've already played this game. There's nothing crazy to talk about here. The game's obviously Metroid Dread inspired and fills that hole pretty well on the surface, but if you try to engage with the game a little deeper, it just doesn't feel as good to play. Like when you get the air dash, you can easily climb up single walls, but as far as I can tell, it's not even that useful. This game just feels designed in a way that feels so bland. Is this what Ubisoft games are like? It's not a game that I disliked or anything, but I wasn't impressed by it. I wasn't about to go out and tell all my friends to play this. It was more like, yeah, it's alright. If you like Metroidvanias, you'll probably like it, but you're not missing much by not playing it. There's a ton of indie games that do this kind of game better. Like, a lot better. Which is the main problem with the game. There's so many good Metroidvanias out there that you can only really make it stand out if you make it really good or really weird. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown doesn't do either. There could be something I'm missing, but I didn't care about the game enough to finish it. Not the best start to last year. I was trying to see what other games I missed out on from 2024, but to be honest, I've kind of lost interest in playing new games. Maybe I should rephrase that. There aren't many new games I'm interested in. The AAA industry as a whole is just going to a place that isn't worth playing for the most part. So I figured that I would have a way better time playing games I've wanted to get to for years instead. Playing through Remio kind of put me in the mood for another visual novel, so I finally decided to play Hotel Dusk. This game just screams DS. You hold it sideways like a book, all the characters are drawn in this sketchy pencil-like art style. You walk around this low-poly, almost PS1 looking hotel environment, listening to this old-timey noir soundtrack. Like, this game is such a vibe, dude. For a game where you just walk around and talk to people, they've made it really interesting. By sheer coincidence, every guest at the hotel are all vaguely related to each other in this weird conspiracy theory web, and it was just a good time seeing it all unfold. I'd love to say more about Hotel Dusk, but saying anything about the story kinda ruins the point. So please, play this weird DS game. My only gripe with the game is it has some puzzles I would have never figured out on my own. Like using chalk to read an engraving on a pen, or using the touchscreen to pull two circuit breakers at the same time. Like, the DS only had a single touchscreen. How does that even work? The game even has an infamous soft lock near the end where you're stuck in a room and have to figure out how to escape before you pass out from a gas leak. The big issue with this whole section is that you need to use a black light on a piece of paper to see what number's written on it. And that black light is easily missable. Yeah, guess what I didn't have? This number is even random, so you can't look up the answer. You can't even reload a save from just before this room to go back and get it either. The game's like, leaving right now would be a mistake. So I couldn't actually solve the puzzle. The workaround back in the day was to tilt the DS screen in a weird way to see it, but that doesn't work on a new 3DS XL. The screen is unfortunately decent. I was just gonna give up and look up the ending on YouTube, but then I had the craziest idea I've ever had. What if I took a picture of it and messed around with the color curves in Affinity Photo? After like 20 minutes of messing around, I could see this faint 12 on it, and I was like, there's no way this works. And it did. This was quite possibly the biggest brain blast I've ever had. And it may not have been the intended way to solve this, but it's an experience that I'll never forget. It made me long for an era where games just love to do weird creative shit that forces you to do stuff outside the game. Like how in Metal Gear Solid they tell you to look in the back of the box to get a radio frequency to call. I miss stuff like that. After that, I played the sequel that you probably didn't know existed. Yeah, Hotel Dusk has a sequel called Last Window. They never released it in North America despite the game being released in Europe and it was already translated to English. We bullied them into releasing Xenoblade back in the day. Where were the deranged Hotel Dusk fans during this time? I hadn't heard much about Hotel Dusk, and I heard even less about Last Window. I didn't even know it existed until like a week before I played Hotel Dusk. Honestly, I like the two games about equally. Last Window still has moments where I would have never figured this out without looking it up, but it happens way less often. Puzzles feel less cryptic, and when you screw something up and get a game over, checkpoints are much more frequent, so you don't have to pointlessly replay short sections to get back to where you were before. Playing it was just a lot more pleasant. I don't think the story is as good as the first game, but it was still a fun ride. The main thing is that the setup is a lot weaker. Before, Kyle went to Hotel Dusk to find answers. This time, he just wanders around his apartment building and stumbles into a new mystery to solve. It doesn't feel like he really has a purpose in what he's doing until like a third of the way through the game. And Betty and Charles felt noticeably less important than the other characters. In Hotel Dusk, it felt like every character was really important, and it's not even that these two characters didn't feel important. They're just the only instances where I feel like you could have taken them out of the story and still ended up at the same conclusion. Not that I felt that either of these problems, this is still a game that you should play. This is not optional. It's just that, again, talking about anything good about the game kind of ruins the fun. Visual novels are very weird games to talk about without spoiling anything. Both games in the Hotel Dusk genre go hard. A much more recent game where you walk around and talk to people is 1,000 Times Resist. I'm gonna be honest, as a guy who talks about video games on the internet, I felt kind of obligated to play this one. It's a game I had a hard time putting down when I was playing it, but I barely thought about it afterwards. If I didn't write down that I needed to talk about 1,000 Times Resist for this video, I probably would have completely forgotten that I played it. And it's another game that's hard to write about without spoiling anything. Despite being so story heavy, it has a narrative that really lends itself well to a video game. It doesn't feel ashamed of being a video game, it's able to embrace it, which a lot of story heavy games tend not to do. Walking around and talking to everyone in different parts of the story really adds to what's going on. There's even a few parts that use traditional video game stuff to explain things. Look, it's another game that I don't want to spoil. Check it out if you're into dystopian sci-fi stories. For whatever reason, I was really into story-heavy games early last year. I figured that I might as well continue with games I've been meaning to play for years, so I played 13 Sentinels. God, what a ride. While most games have one or two protagonists, 13 Sentinels has 13, and just about all of them are equally important. And because they put progression gates on most characters' stories, you can't binge any of them. You have to alternate between characters as much as possible. This story is also told completely out of order. It's got time travel, giant robots, mental trauma, existential crises. This game has it all, really. 13 Sentinels sounds like a mess on paper. I expected this plot to get confusing fast, but it's so well told that it makes for a story that only works as a video game. Because everyone playing it is experiencing it in a different order, different people are going to get reveals and plot twists told to them in an order unique to them. That sounds awful. Like, a common complaint about Tears of the Kingdom is that Zelda's memories are shown out of order, which is a fair criticism, even if it didn't bother me personally. And 13 Sentinels, this kind of thing just makes the game more interesting. I was constantly like, oh, how'd this happen? What is this? Oh my god, that's how they ended up like that. It blows my mind that a game like this even exists. Like, this is such an easy game to appreciate while you're playing it because you know you're never gonna play anything like this ever again. A non-linear interconnected story of 13 different main characters is so easy to screw up that no one else is even going to attempt to try something similar. I'd say more about it, but again, kind of ruins the fun. I guess I really am becoming a video essay YouTube person if I could just talk about nothing for this long. Oh, and the mecha strategy minigame is fun too. Speaking of mechs, Xenoblade X finally got a Switch port. I was one of the 2 people who played the original, so I'm very happy that more people can play this now. Xenoblade X was my favorite game from 2015, at least until I played Undertale the last possible second of the year and it was my personality for the next 6 months. I'll get into the new Deltarune stuff later. It was really fun coming back to this, and all the new improvements let me actually play a lot of the side quests this time. In the original, affinity quests revolving around other characters often make you look for random items and they were stupid and dumb and maybe completely avoid them. But now that they tell you where all the objectives are, I did as many of them as I could. I also use more party members than just the main ones, because you don't have to find them and talk to them in New LA anymore. You can just swap them out from a menu like any other game. These 2 changes alone made Definitive Edition a way better time. It's crazy. But the main attraction for me was the new post-game that wraps up a lot of loose ends. I'd imagine a lot of people would be annoyed that they had to replay the whole game to get to it, but I only played Xenoblade X once when it came out, so I didn't care. Again, I'm not spoiling anything specific. I'm definitely annoying someone by being so non-descriptive about everything this year. But anyway, I was definitely disappointed by the new stuff. Like, it was fine. It just felt underwhelming. The loose ends weren't really wrapped up that well, and they still left a few things unanswered. At least from playing it, it just didn't feel like what they originally planned, and they had to do things in a different way. I don't know, maybe 10 years of waiting and wondering what might be just made the real answer less interesting. I'm not losing sleep over this new, unsatisfying ending, but yeah. It was kind of a letdown for me. The game's a pretty great time overall, though. The new post-game just wasn't the best. Blueprints was probably the most unique game I played last year. This game doesn't sound fun. It's a roguelike puzzle game. 2 genres that should be entirely at odds with each other. But it works. It works insanely well. You're running through a mansion and solving all its mysteries while also building the layout every day. This is another game I don't want to spoil much about because it's like Outer Wilds, where you're supposed to go in completely blind and figure out everything as you go. Like, dude, knowledge-based games are slowly becoming one of my favorite genres, because the moments where everything clicks is one of the best feelings I've ever felt playing a game. When I figured out how to open the time safe in the shelter, I felt like a total genius. And that was just one thing in the game. It's filled to the brim with little moments like that. You just keep finding new revelations and information all the time, and you start questioning every single thing in every room. The randomized nature of the game definitely gets annoying sometimes. There were points where I figured everything out, but I just needed to get the right luck to get everything I needed. Luckily, it doesn't happen often enough to be an issue. There's so many different threads to follow that you can always do something else in the meantime. Plus, there are ways to manipulate the RNG in your favor. It's just not brutally obvious what you're supposed to do to make things happen the way you want. It's almost like you're supposed to figure that out, like some kind of puzzle game. I didn't do everything in Blueprints. I mainly just played until I rolled credits in about 16 hours. Just peeking into the post-game, it's crazy how much of it I didn't play. Blueprints is a surprisingly meaty game. You can easily get lost in this place for 60 plus hours if you want to. I don't think I'm smart enough to do some of the shit this game asks you to do, but it's heaven for someone who absolutely loves solving puzzles. The other game I played in April was Clair Obscur, Expedition 33. This wasn't out of nowhere for me like Blueprints was. I thought it looked pretty good from the announcement trailer a few months earlier. I just wasn't expecting it to be a Game of the Year contender. Basically, this is a game where every year, the god of their world paints a number onto this monolith thing, and everyone that's that age or older disappears. So every year, they put together a group and go on an expedition to try and kill the paintress. If that premise doesn't sound peak, I don't know what to tell you. It was awesome. This game feels like what Final Fantasy might have turned into if they never abandoned the turn-based gameplay. And it's fun, like really fun. Like, let's put Final Fantasy, Persona, and Mario and Luigi into a blender and see what happens kind of fun. RPGs are fun to me because it always feels like you're getting stronger, and you're constantly bombarded with new options to try out. If you think that turn-based RPGs are boring, play this game and then never say that sentence again. My only real issue with the game is that the difficulty is really easy to break. Once you figure out a good build, it works in pretty much every situation. The game gives you a lot of options, but there isn't much reason to experiment once you find something that works, and the parry system makes defensive builds feel like a waste of time. Why increase my defense when I can just get better at dodging instead? I know that's the point and why it's great, but I just feel like they could have gave you some reason to not pursue hyper-aggression. Also, when you can remove the damage cap in the endgame, it's not hard to kill the final boss in like 3 turns. The next time I play this, I'll probably play on hard, but it's just so easy to snap the game in half. That was my only real problem though. The game's brilliant otherwise. I was even surprised by how good the presentation is. Clair Obscur shows that the problem with photorealism is a lack of art direction. There's nothing stopping developers from having more interesting locations, but they just don't. Most of the places in this game look more interesting than most photorealistic games, and I really have to question why no one thought to do this sooner. Like, one of the first areas is this underwater place that isn't underwater, and it just looks so cool. The story that I'm not spoiling delivers too. It's filled with well-written characters with insanely good voice acting. The lip syncing is awful, but with the amount of JRPGs I've played, I'm just used to it. It's even got the best split ending I've ever seen in a game. Both choices lead to what feels like a genuine conclusion, and neither of them lead to an obviously canon happy ending. And to top everything off, there's an incredible soundtrack. It feels like there's a new battle theme every 5 seconds. It's crazy. This is the kind of game where I have to question why it wasn't my game of the year. And to be honest, I feel like I would have liked Expedition 33 a lot more if I had never played a JRPG before. It's an awesome time, don't get me wrong. But when you've already played a bunch of games like this, it doesn't hit as hard. At least not for me. The longer the game went on, the more obvious it was to me that the developers love Xenoblade. And I can't blame them. I can't blame anyone for declaring this as their game of the year, though. It's not even full price. Like, how is this only $50? It borders on highway robbery. While those last 2 games were nice surprises for me, Doom: The Dark Ages was a bit of a disappointment. The main thing for me was that I didn't care about the shield. It feels like a weird thing to include in a Doom game. While before you'd be running and jumping around in order to avoid attacks, now you just hold a button down. You're encouraged to play defensively instead of aggressively, and I just didn't vibe with it. It doesn't help that you can ignore a lot of your weapons. Once you find one you like, you can just stick to it instead of having to use every tool at your disposal like the last 2 games. The combat just isn't as interesting to me. I wasn't into the new stuff either. With the Titan and the Dragon, you mainly just move in a straight line and press left click, more or less. They weren't there enough to be a problem, but I definitely groaned whenever I had to go through one of these. The spectacle doesn't mean much when it's not fun to play. I'd rather just go back back to playing the normal game. The level design being more open-ended felt weird too. It doesn't feel non-linear. It feels like I'm playing linear sections in a non-linear order. I'd rather the game just be linear again. They don't really do much with it. And while it feels a little annoying to complain about the ray tracing requirement on PC, it still just rubs me the wrong way. Like, yeah, I can run this game at like 90 FPS with ray tracing using XeSS, which is absolutely bonkers. But like, if it's already running this good, imagine how much better it would be running if I could turn ray tracing off. Fancier graphics aren't going to make a difference in a game like this. A higher FPS goes burr in Doom. I don't know, I just wasn't enjoying the Dark Ages like I was with 2016 and Eternal. While some people loved it, it's pretty easy to see why it's the most divisive modern Doom game. I only got about halfway through before I lost interest. I had way more fun playing Ultrakill. It's practically just Doom on steroids, where every new ability and weapon completely changes the way you play it. While it did take a while for the game to click with me, once it did, it became a pure symphony of movement shooter mayhem where you act solely on muscle memory. I don't play Ultrakill, I feel it. I become one with the earth and achieve boomer shooter nirvana. To be honest, maybe don't play Ultrakill, because it'll ruin pretty much every other game in the genre for you. I don't have much else to say about it other than it's really good. A game like this cannot get any better. This is another game I need to get back to. I only got through Layer 4. Even if the game's still in early access, it's more like the first Doom where it was released in episodes. It goes on sale for about 20 bucks or less all the time, and for that price, what we already have is well worth it. Another game that isn't done yet is Deltarune. Chapters 3 and 4 finally came out, and it was magnificent. Chapter 3 is weird because it's kind of boring for most of the chapter, but really picks up by the end. It's not that the 8-bit board game things are bad or anything. They just get boring when it's all you're doing. I think I just need an earlier section of regular gameplay to keep it interesting, because when it goes back to the regular gameplay in the final section, it's as awesome as it's always been. The secrets in this chapter also set up some really cool stuff that my inner 17-year-old is frothing in the mouth to find out more about. The Shadow Crystal boss of Chapter 3 was a bit much though. Like, if you thought Sans was hard, you haven't seen anything yet. This boss was such an absurd difficulty spike, even if it was optional. The Chapter 4 was piss easy by comparison. I understand why they made this boss so hard, but like, damn. Chapter 4, though, does literally everything right. It's arguably the best chapter so far. What do you mean that wasn't the final boss? Please play Deltarune. It's peak. This was definitely the game that I thought about the most after finishing it. Like, this thing unlocked a new level of brain rot for me that I haven't experienced in a while. Chapters 3 and 4 came out in early June, and I was still low-key obsessed by September. I was actually getting kind of annoyed that my brain wouldn't let me move on from this. It even made me start reading Homestuck. Don't play this game. You won't be able to escape. Don't forfeit your ability to watch Toy Story in a normal way. I need more of this shit. Chapter 5 is apparently coming out in 2026. I don't believe them, but I wish them the best of luck. I'll be there the millisecond I'm able to. Alright, time for the annual game you definitely haven't heard of segment. Garbanzo Quest is a weird game I found from a YouTube video titled something like adding pointless mechanics to my game. The game actually looked kinda cool, but then I was a little turned off by the game being $20. It seemed like something that was more like $10. But then I played the demo and I was like, oh, yeah, this is a $20 game. Garbanzo Quest is this bizarre mix between Mario World, Mega Man, and Undertale, and it's a surprisingly fun romp. It almost feels like a long-lost 3DS game. Like, if I played this on my 3DS in 8th grade study hall, it would have given me fond memories I would never forget. It feels like that kind of game. Something about this just feels fun to play. There's new ideas and mechanics all the time, there's plenty of collectibles and secrets, and the swimming mechanics are actually good. Like, if this game wasn't as fun as it is, I probably wouldn't have bothered with that bonus level. You play Simon Says while the targets are moving around, there's an enemy chasing after you. That level is stupid, and the fact that I was so willing to do it says how good the game is. I like the break the target challenges though, they were really fun. I suppose the real problem with this game is that it doesn't really have a hook. It's a really good 2D platformer with some bullet hell mechanics. That's pretty much it. It's hard to really sell the game to people beyond, dude, trust me. This game highlights just how many good games there are nowadays. How you can make a really good game and it can still get overlooked just because there's way too many good games to play. Garbanzo Quest is a game I should have put more time into. The only reason why I didn't finish it was because there was way too many other games to play this year. This game is an actual hidden gem, which is surprisingly rare nowadays. Void Stranger is a deceptively simple puzzle game. The main mechanic lets you grab a tile and put it down somewhere else. That's pretty much it. I don't know how they managed to make a puzzle game this hard from something this simple. It's definitely another one of those games I don't want to spoil much about, but just know that your puny brain isn't ready for this game. Just when you think it's just about over, you have to restart from the beginning and go down a mind-bending rabbit hole that's almost impossible to figure out without a guide. I don't care how good you think you are at puzzles. Void Stranger will wear you down until you're completely insane. Once you stare into infinity and see everything laid out before you, you start to wonder how the developers expected people to actually beat this. There is no hope here. Only madness. Which is so much funnier when you remember that the average gameplay looks like this. At least the music is crazy good. This is one of those games I definitely wanted to play more, but it's so demanding that it's really hard to want to keep going. This is too big brain for me. Like, this is just a straight up required ARG at times. I hate Void Stranger. It's incredible. One of the worst kept secrets in gaming happened recently with a remaster of Oblivion. I played Skyrim a ton back in the day, but I never really got around to playing Oblivion for any more than like 2 or 3 hours. So naturally, I played the original game that I already bought instead of the remaster. Because why would I play the remaster at a stuttery 60 FPS when I can play the original at 165 FPS instead? I wasn't even using any mods either, other than one that lets you play at high frame rates. I watched the Down the Rabbit Hole about the unofficial Skyrim patch, so I knew I needed to play this one raw. Playing Oblivion made me remember what was so fun about Skyrim. At first, I wasn't really that into it, just wandering around, fighting stuff, doing dungeons, going through the main quest. But then I started talking to people in towns and doing side quests, and it was so much better. Some dude was like, hey, I'm old, can you catch these fish for me? I'll make it worth your while. And I was like, why not, man? You seem cool. So there I was, swimming around this river, killing piranhas with a sword and getting my ass kicked. But my guy needed these fish dead, so I just did this absurd activity for like 20 minutes. I got a ring that lets you breathe underwater, which isn't as useful as it sounds, but it was about the journey. This stupid game made me want to do this stupid side quest. Later on, I helped some rat lady figure out why mountain lions were coming into her basement and killing all her rats. But the lady trying to kill the rats was like, bro, don't rat me out and I'll upgrade your athletics, which was a good enough bribe for me. And then I was wandering around the shipyard and some other lady was like, dude, my boat is haunted. Go get this thing in the ship so I can stop being haunted. Then the ghost got out of the ship and everyone in town was fighting these things while I wandered around healing myself long enough to go back in. And then I killed some thieves that lure men into their cabin in the woods and steal all their stuff, including their clothes. This is all the same town, by the way, except for the fish part. And I'm sure there is still way more stuff to do in that same town. The reason why I never finished the main quest in Skyrim is because everything else is so much more fun that I never bothered with it. This game is just stupid side quests, the video game. You wander around and see what random hijinks you can get yourself into. It's great. I didn't play Oblivion that much, but I need to correct this in the future. Another game that I've been meaning to play for over a decade is Zelda Phantom Hourglass. It was alright. Like, for being a direct sequel to Wind Waker, it kinda has nothing to do with Wind Waker. Tetra gets turned into a stone statue, but it could have been literally anyone. She's barely in the game. For some reason, they thought it would be a good idea to use the touchscreen for everything. Because of that, it leads to a lot more bland dungeon and level design to make things simpler on the player. Luckily, I was playing the game through Twilight Menu++ with a patch that lets you move with the 3DS circle pad, which led to a nice compromise between playing the game as intended and playing the game in a way that's actually fun. It doesn't change how boring the dungeons are and that they play the same 3 tracks for the whole game, but at least I can move in a way that doesn't feel clunky and weird. The Temple of the Ocean King was one of the big highlights for me. It's basically a dungeon that you come back to throughout the game, and you use new items and abilities to get through it quicker. I did kind of hate it at first, but after I realized you're supposed to be taking notes to make subsequent visits easier, it was a lot more fun. People who don't like this place are cowards. I feel like I would have liked Phantom Hourglass a lot more as a kid. Seeing all these cinematics and 3D stuff on my DS would have been crazy when I was like 12. It's still impressive that they were able to do that on DS, but it didn't save actually playing it for me. Since I was going through Phantom Hourglass, I figured that I might as well finally go through Spirit Tracks. The game is simultaneously better and worse than Hourglass. The dungeons and level design is much more interesting, but there's a lot more fluff in between. I just don't like the train. Waiting around in Wind Waker is a pretty common complaint, but at least it felt like I was doing something. In Spirit Tracks, you explore the world on a train, and because you plot your course in advance, it's pretty easy to just not have to pay much attention, and it moves just slow enough that it discourages you from actually wanting to go anywhere. There are these enemy train things that you can't kill that are supposed to keep you on your toes, but they felt more annoying than anything else. They're not hard to avoid, it just makes it take longer to get where you're trying to go. The worst part is definitely the Spirit Flute. It's your typical Zelda instrument, but it requires you to actually blow into the microphone to play it. it just doesn't work. There's even these times where I have to do this stupid concert thing where you play the same song 3 times in a row, and for one of them, I was physically incapable of doing it. I had to stop playing because this stupid minigame was making me lightheaded. I was going at this for like 20 minutes and never even got close to succeeding. But then I used a ROM hack that gives most of the game button controls, and I beat it first try. I don't know why they thought this was a good idea. Imagine playing this in public and looking like a weirdo for blowing into your DS so much. Would it even work in a noisy environment? Because it definitely doesn't work at home where it's quiet. So, I don't know. It's not even just me lacking whimsy as an adult, because I rented this game once as a kid and I hated this part of the game back then. The only thing I remember is how awful this flute was and how it just didn't work. Shoutouts to that one stupid boss in Bowser's Inside story that can only be hit with fire while Bowser's giant, so you have to blow into the mic constantly. It's the same idea here. Spirit Tracks is at least a game I enjoyed, but I doubt I'm coming back to either of the DS Zelda games anytime soon. So, you remember the part where I said I was going to reject mod irony and just play a bunch of old games? Did anyone watch my video on the second channel about how I probably wasn't buying a Switch 2 in 2025? Well, I bought a Switch 2 because I'm a hypocrite. I was gonna make a video on the second channel with that title because that sounds hilarious, but I didn't have enough to say for a whole video, so we're just doing it here. Now, I at least waited almost 3 months for mine. I'm not one of those guys that said it's a scam and bought it day one anyway. The main thing was seeing every other console getting a price increase, including Switch 1, which has never happened before in the entire history of video game consoles. So I figured, screw it, I'll just buy one before it inevitably goes up in price, because then I definitely won't buy one. After how traumatized I was from pre-ordering a Switch and waiting in PlayStation Direct queues to just buy a PS5, I was surprised by how easy it was to buy a Switch 2. I just went to Walmart.com and bought it, free 2-day shipping. The console itself is basically exactly what you expected, Switch, but more powerful. I'm not here to say that it was a waste of money, because it wasn't. Nintendo grifters are getting really annoying. They're complaining about every Switch 2 game to the point where it almost feels like they're trying to make shit up for clicks. And they're like, oh no, you actually like Nintendo games? What a corporate shill. Like, these people are more annoying than the actual corporate shills that think Nintendo can do no wrong. Nintendo, the company, is awful. But Nintendo, the game developer, is still making some good shit. Switch 2 is a quality product that's worth it if you play a lot of Switch games. But if money's tight, you're not really missing out on much either. You're probably just better off waiting for more games to come out before you pick one up. Alright, the games. It was late August when I got mine, so I played Donkey Kong Bananza before Mario Kart. Hilariously enough, the game came in the mail before Mario Kart was done downloading. It's a very weird game to talk about in hindsight. While I was playing it, I was having a blast. It was an incredible time. But I just ended up caring about it less and less as the year went on. I never felt the need to go back and 100% it like I did Odyssey. I didn't even think about it much afterwards. And I think it might be because I don't like the Bananzas in practice. They're these temporary super transformations that give you different abilities. It's not something like the drive forms in Kingdom Hearts 2 where you have to be smart about how you make use of them. You can use Bananzas so much that it doesn't feel like a resource demand at all. You can use these more or less as much as you want. While it is pretty satisfying to learn when to use each one and effortlessly swap between them, it doesn't change the fact that DK's base form is way weaker by comparison. It's a problem with the game that I didn't really think about while I was playing. I just slowly realized that the main ability of the game just makes it less fun to play. Why do any of this platforming when Ostrich can just glide over everything? Why bother destroying stuff by hand when Elephant can do it more efficiently? DK Bananza is a game that's fun to play in the moment, but it feels a lot less satisfying overall for me. I guess it's more about my own personal preference with platformers. I like moving and platforming more than collecting stuff. It's the main reason why I can never get into any of Rare's old games, which Bananza takes a lot of inspiration from. This game's definitely an easy recommendation if you have a Switch 2, but I don't think you're missing much if you already played Mario Odyssey. It was a great time, but it felt like a game I already played. I don't know, maybe I need another playthrough to figure out how I really feel about it. Okay, now for Mario Kart World, the $80 extravaganza. I got the bundle. I only paid $50 for this game. I would not pay $80 for this. Absolutely not. The moment-to-moment gameplay is the best it's ever been, but the track design is so hit or miss that I just end up feeling bored most of the time. This game loves to use this new intermission track thing where you drive from one track to another in an open world, which sounds really cool on paper, but what happens is they usually do one lap around one track and then drive in a mostly straight line to another track before doing a lap on the other track. It ends up feeling like it ends just as it's getting good. And the thing is, the usual 3 laps around the track option is still there, but it takes so much effort to actually play the game that way that it just makes it inherently more annoying to play. It's like if Smash Brothers didn't let you turn off items. Even when you do that, it feels like there's way too many tracks where each lap is different. It's a nice change of pace, but it gets pretty unsatisfying when you do it too much. The intermissions work way better on the knockout tours, where you get eliminated if you fall too far behind. Those are pretty fun, but they're only fun for so long before I'd rather just go back and play the game normally. I don't know, there's just something about this game that rubs me the wrong way. I had way more fun when I was playing through Double Dash for the first time last year. I guess the free roam is cool. Being able to just drive around is a really cool thing. It gets boring really quickly, but it is pretty cool. An absolute god tier veg out with friends in a Discord call mode. But credit where credit is due. Mario Kart World has an immaculate soundtrack. Like, there is 11 hours of music here, and it's all new renditions of the best Mario jazz music you've ever heard. Did the entire budget just go into the soundtrack? Like, what happened here? Every track feels like the band is being held at gunpoint and forced to play the best they can or else they die. Was the price tag just to fund the music? Why does this random ass remix of the Mario Land 2 map that only 2 people are going to hear go so crazy? Even if you didn't like the game, at least we have enough video essay background music to last the rest of time. For that, I can't be too mad at this game. The last Switch 2 game I got around the same time as I got this system is definitely the weirdest one. It's called Dear Me, I Was. It's a game by Arc System Works, and I use the term game loosely because there is no gameplay. All you do is watch animations, which would be fine as some weird visual novel thing, but when there's no dialogue, it's hard for me to care about anything that's happening. Who is this girl? Why do I care about various points through life? And it's so short that nothing ever sinks in. Everything goes by so fast that I can't process what just happened. I have a hard time even describing what the game's about. It's one of few games where I actually felt ripped off after playing it. I already knew that this $8 game was like 45 minutes long, but you can watch a no commentary playthrough on YouTube and get the exact same experience. There's virtually no gameplay, and the gameplay that is there adds nothing. I have to wonder why this is even a video game. If this was a manga or like a Netflix special or something, I think I actually would have enjoyed the same story more. It was the only game I played recently that made me feel worse after playing it. And not out of boredom or I just didn't enjoy it or anything. I just felt like I wasted my time and money playing this. Like, am I being too harsh on this thing? Am I too young to get it? Like, some of the few people I heard talking about were like, this is one of the best games I've played in recent years. And like, what? I don't want to take away other people's enjoyment or anything, but I don't see it. It's an absolute nothing burger of a game. So anyway, Hollow Knight Silksong is a real video game that I have played all the way to the credits. A completely insane yet true sentence. This is a game that's so good that it crashed every storefront it was available on. And when Steam finally lets you give the developers your money, you play and think, how is this only $20 like every 10 minutes? Oh, another new area? This game has different weapons with different playstyles? How is this boss so well made? What do you mean there's an Act 3? The more I played Silksong, I was like, damn, this is a video game. Some people will probably be disappointed that it's pretty much just more Hollow Knight, but Hollow Knight is so hilariously good that it's hard to complain. My only real problem with the game is, and say it with me, the difficulty. Now, it doesn't ruin the game for me or anything, but this game was way harder than anyone was expecting. I've seen people not bother with beating the Radiance in the first game because they thought it was too hard. The Radiance is tame compared to some of the shit you go through in Silksong. The last judge has permanently altered my perception of video game difficulty. Every other game is much easier now. I don't think they really need to change too much about the difficulty balancing, but at the very least, contact damage should never take away 2 masks. Like, what? Don't get me wrong, Silksong's incredible, but the game being so hard is pretty exhausting for me. To the point where I didn't get around to playing Act 3 even though I wanted to. I can only grudge through Bile Water for so long before I remember that I actually like having fun. This game is like Dark Souls for me. I have to be in the right mood to play it or else I just get burnt out from it. But because Team Cherry are absolute Giga Chad, Silksong is getting a free expansion in 2026, so I'll probably just end up playing Act 3 then. I don't think it'll come out in 2026, but I wish them the best of luck. The copium during the last 6 years has been an honor. May this game sell another 7 million copies. Alright, here's the last indie game of the video. Unfortunate, I know. Megabonk is basically Vampire Survivors in 3D, and it's a lot of fun. Just having upgrade stations scattered around a map that you're supposed to explore made a game like this a lot more enjoyable for me. Survivors likes tend to be games where you basically run around in circles the whole time, which can be fun, but just giving you a reason to not run around in circles makes it a lot more interesting to me. You can even upgrade your movement speed and jumping abilities if you want to just zoom around the map like it's nothing. If you play your cards right, you're an untouchable god. There's a ton of fun to be had from this for only $10. To be honest, I probably would have played this more if I didn't have a bunch of other games I wanted to play. It's definitely one of those games I'll end up playing more over time. I just have to wait until it decides to consume me again. Now, for some reason, I felt like rewatching a bunch of Digimon earlier this year. Tamers is the best one, you can't convince me otherwise. Frontier is good, you're all just mean. And against my better judgment, I decided to play Cyber Sleuth Hacker's Memory for a bit. It didn't take long for me to remember why I didn't like the first Cyber Sleuth. The battle system and monster collecting mechanics are really fun, it's just the game structure that left a lot to be desired. Instead of going through dungeons or exploring places, you mainly run around and do errands for people, which wouldn't be a bad thing necessarily, if I actually cared about what was going on. The story is just generic anime bullshit with two-dimensional characters with no personality and boring dialogue, so I don't care about what's happening. It's one of those games that probably would have been a lot better if you were given something actually interesting to do. Definitely didn't help that this was originally a low-budget Vita game. Time Stranger luckily fixes every problem I have with the Cyber Sleuth games. It's quite literally just those games, but with a way bigger budget and a way better structure. Now you're actually going through regular-ass JRPG dungeons and levels, and it's great. The battles are so blazingly fast and quick that there's virtually no friction transitioning in and out of battle. It's just go, go, go. Seeing as how many Digimon games have always been annoyingly low budget, it's pretty crazy to see one with actually really good production values. Like, this feels like a real-ass video game, which is a weird compliment, but when I was a kid, I played some really not very good Digimon games, so it's awesome to have one that I really enjoyed. The story is way better too, with characters that I actually like. Time Stranger even has an English dub this time, which probably helps. Apparently the plot gets even more interesting as it goes on, but I'm only like 15 hours into this one. Digimon Time Stranger is one of those games where I blinked and 10 hours flew by. I didn't play this one as much as I wanted to just because there were other games I ended up playing instead, but I am absolutely coming back to this soon. It's been an awesome time so far. My only complaint is the battle music is pretty forgettable, and that's it. I need more of this. Inject this directly into my veins, please. Moving on to the opposite of Digimon, Pokémon Legends Z-A is good, like really good. Monster collecting fans got two cakes this year. This time, the game has a real-time battle system that's basically Xenoblade, and it completely changes how you think about the game. There's no PP, and your moves go on cooldown after you use them. So spamming your best attack constantly is really hard unless you're just one-shotting everything anyway, which puts a lot more emphasis on neutral damage, because doing something while your super effective moves are on cooldown is better than doing nothing. There was also no accuracy, making stuff like Stone Edge and Dynamic Punch way more viable. And in a battle system like this, you're just gonna get hit. It's inevitable. So defense is actually a viable strategy now. Being able to react to a big attack with a protect and then countering against it with something else is huge. Moves play such a giant role in how the battles go that I was swapping around moves constantly. And they know how important it is, because move swapping is just a button press away in the menu. It really reminds you why reusable TMs are peak and they should have never removed them. Like, dude, when I first saw the battle system, I was like, ooh, this looks so good, and I'm so glad that it is so good. Can future Legends games just keep this battle system? Because I need more of this. I was pretty skeptical about how the entire game takes place in Lumio City, but even after I finished the game, I never got tired of running around this place. I was like 25 hours in, and I was still finding new places I hadn't been to yet. The map is pretty small, but there's so much stuff to do in it that it's not actually a problem. I do hope they have a bigger area to explore next time, though. This feels like something that can only work once. The only actual complaint I had was that the game needs voice acting. Some scenes just feel unfinished without it. I keep complaining about this, and it's still a problem, and it's really annoying. But that's it, this game's awesome. It's the first Switch-era Pokemon game that isn't good with an asterisk. It's just good. I mean, I guess it could still look better, but when I'm playing it, I kinda don't care. You can complain about repeated textures and painting on windows, but I never noticed when I was playing. It looks good enough to me. At least on Switch too. And it seems like people agree with me. It was so nice having a Pokemon game release and everyone just liked it. No stupid drama that could have been easily avoided or obvious signs that the game is being held together with gum and Cheetos. They made a fun game that people enjoyed. It's wonderful. Okay, that's not true. Some people complained about the game, but I didn't hear any of it, so I had a lot more fun. I'm half convinced that the only people trying to stir up drama about this game are grifters that don't even like Pokemon. This game is really good when you don't have someone in your ear telling you it's corporate slop, which isn't to say that the game is perfect or anything, but I miss being able to walk away completely satisfied by a Pokemon game. And there is no guarantee that it will happen next time. Despite the fact that Kirby Air Riders is the game I wanted to play most on Switch 2, I didn't actually play it that much, only about like 10 hours or so. I never played the original Air Ride, so it was actually pretty fun getting to this one. The City Trial is the main event. It's basically a battle royale before battle royales. You run around and collect stats until you're overpowered in one hilariously specific way while random events happen around you. It's pure chaos. The stadium event at the end doesn't even matter. Did you have fun running around like a maniac? That's the important part. Air Riders feels like a GameCube game in the best way possible. There's tons of unlockables, none of which are hidden behind microtransactions. There's plenty of stuff to do that doesn't detract from the main gameplay that much, and it just feels like the right amount of scope. It's not a huge game, but it's definitely not a small one either. Air Riders isn't gonna blow everyone's minds, but it's gonna hit like a freight train for the right people. I am not one of those people, which is why I'm barely talking about it. But at least I had more fun with this than Mario Kart. Like, who cares about free roam? Give Mario Kart City Trial. It would print $1 bajillion. So anyway, Metroid Prime 4 is a real video game that I have played all the way to the credits. A completely insane yet true sentence. How did we get Prime 4 and Silksong in the same year? This game doesn't even feel real. Like, I got 97% of the items. I experienced the whole thing in like 4 days. And I'm still processing that the game exists. Maybe because of how absurdly good the game looks. This is the first game that's felt next gen to me in a while. It doesn't feel like this game would have been possible on Switch 1. And the crazier part is that it is on Switch 1, and it runs at 60 FPS on Switch 1. What technical black magic did they have to do to get this game looking and running this well? It even has a 120 FPS mode on Switch too. Like, this is the only console game I've played where the quality mode is a locked 60 FPS. Even PS5 games can't handle that. What is going on at Retro? Okay, I understand the irony talking about the graphics, but showing blurred out video footage for this glorified slideshow. But it's either that or I don't make these games I played last year videos anymore. It is what it is. You know what? Let's unblur it for this section. As a treat. The actual game is an awesome time too. It definitely feels a lot more like Prime 3 with everything being so linear, but I didn't think it was a bad thing for the most part, because the game actually uses linearity well. The Ice Belt was this atmospheric trek through an abandoned space lab as you slowly uncover what happened there. The Vault Forge has you bringing a factory back to life, and the Flare Pool has you fighting a giant serpent over a pool of lava, and you use the grapple beam like a hook shot to escape the place before everything explodes. It almost felt like I was playing Half-Life or Halo at times, and I mean that as a compliment. What we have in Prime 4 is really fun, but in a totally different way from the original games. With how many people are calling this game painfully safe, I have to wonder how many of them even played the originals. Prime 4 is so experimental and weird with its level design and structure that I'm actually kind of surprised that it didn't just make more of a return to form. Because considering the retro studios we have now is filled with a completely new team that never worked on the original trilogy, it's crazy how well they nail the game feel. This is a Metroid Prime game through and through. Now, the game is far from perfect. Mainly the boring desert that doesn't add much to the game and mostly just feels there to pad out the runtime, but that's my only real complaint. Okay, the endgame fetch quest was also pointless and didn't need to be there, but it didn't bother me that much. I thought we moved past this kind of game design. I don't really have a problem with Miles either. People act like he killed their entire family. He's not that annoying. I just think that he should have been able to turn off the hints. There, now you can forget about him. Ultimately, I think the reason why I didn't click with so many people is because when you wait 8 years for a game, it better be fantastic. And Prime 4 isn't quite that good. It's an awesome time, but that's not enough when you've been hyping something up for so long. I had zero expectations and had a blast. Other people are propping it up with Half-Life 3 levels of anticipation, which always leads to disappointment. Prime 4 won't blow your mind if you play the other Prime games, but I liked it more than Prime 3, which is good enough for me. If they keep the game feel just like this, but make a more non-linear, interconnected world to explore with it, Prime 5 will be crazy good. And now, a moment of silence for the games I wanted to play, but didn't, for one reason or another. Metal Gear Solid Delta, Dispatch, Borderlands 4, Shantae Advance, Split Fiction, Trails in the Sky Remake, Ghost of Yote, Kingdoms of the Dump, Slime Rancher 2, Clover Pit, Hyrule Warriors, Age of Imprisonment, Normally, I'd throw up a tier list of all the stuff I played last year, but it felt weird ranking everything when I didn't have any kind of personal definitive game of the year. I don't know, there was a lot of good stuff released last year, but I didn't play anything that impacted me enough to give it the title of Game of the Year. The closest games that got me to that point were Blueprints and Silksong, and even then, it doesn't feel right for me to say those were the best games I played last year, as insane as that sounds. Like, can I really say something is my game of the year when I've been having way more fun replaying Pokemon Emerald and Kingdom Hearts 2? Why even bother with all these new games anymore? I've been trying to experience new things for so long that old favorites are starting to feel new again. I just got a $50 Steam gift card for Christmas, and it was the first time in my life that I struggled to figure out what to even spend it on. What other games could I possibly want at this point? Why buy more games when I'm having a lot more fun playing stuff I already have? Everything's gotten too expensive, so let's actually play all the games I bought over the years. Which is impossible, but it'll be fun to try. Good games are obviously still coming out, but at least as of right now, it looks to be a lot more better than usual, which is what I say every year, but maybe it'll be true this time. Why is my most anticipated game the Mega Man Star Force collection? Games that I have already played multiple times. Look, I don't have an inspiring speech like last year. Video games good. Like, comment, and subscribe. It's been fun. Take care, everyone.